Fasten your seatbelts. Is Pakistan really in danger of losing Balochistan? Are we about to witness a replay of 1971 when East Pakistan broke away from West Pakistan to become Bangladesh? Or is that comparison more noise than reality? From claims that the CIA is secretly funding and arming Baloch fighters to the bigger question of what it actually takes for a separatist movement to succeed, the debate is full of confusion and exaggeration. In this episode, we keep it simple and sharp. We break down the 7 basic conditions any liberation movement must meet to win independence and check one by one whether the Baloch movement meets them. We'll compare Balochistan with Bangladesh, highlight what looks similar, explain what is fundamentally different, and explore what lessons, if any, the Baloch can learn from the Mufti Bahini. No jargon, no slogans, no hype, just clear facts, history, and logic to help you understand what's really happening and what is unlikely to happen next. Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif admitting in Parliament that Baloch rebels from the Balochistan Liberation Army, BLA, are toting US-made rifles worth $40,000 each, night vision thermals superior to their armies, and full tactical kits that make Pakistan's forces look outdated. Is this the smoking gun for a US deep state or CIA operation funding separatism to dismantle Pakistan's alliance with China? Is India's RAW in on it, funneling cash and intel? Or is it recycled Afghan weapons and Pakistani spin? We'll dissect the report, trace the guns, debunk conspiracies, explore motives, RAW's role, Balochistan's roots, and US stakes. Let's put facts, hypotheticals, and hard truths. No fluff. Let's also discuss this from the lens of open source intelligence we are receiving. Hit play, grab notes, let's go. Rewind to Islamabad's National Assembly. Asif, facing a BLA surge that torched 250 plus Pakistani troops in months, lays it bare. These terrorists have American weapons, M4 rifles at 2 million rupees, $5,000 thermal sights, $20,000 kits per fighter. He spotlights Afghan-based BLA commanders directing hits on CPEC convoys, Punjabi migrants and cops. Pakistan retaliates with air strikes, killing 200 rebels. But Asif demands answers. Who's arming them? Let's deep dive into background and context of Balochistan independence movement. To understand why these attacks are happening, we need to go back decades. Chapter 1. Baloch separatist movement background. Baloch grievances traced to political marginalization and economic extraction. The region is mineral rich and strategic. Gwadar Port, gas fields, and major infrastructure projects have accelerated land and resource contests. Local Baloch nationalists complain that Islamabad's development deals have enriched outsiders while offering limited political representation and scarce local benefits. Heavy-handed security responses, enforced disappearances, and crackdowns have radicalized sections of the population. Over time, a spectrum of groups emerge, from political parties demanding autonomy to armed outfits seeking separation. Open source trackers, ACLED, SATP, independent analysts count roughly 5 to 10 named Baloch militant organizations that have been active in the last decade, plus multiple local brigades and splinter cells. The exact number fluctuates because groups split, rename, merge, or form temporary coalitions. The following are different Baloch groups. Balochistan Liberation Army, the best known and largest operational group, has claimed many high-profile attacks. Baloch Republican Army, another long-standing separatist outfit that has fought the state for years. Baloch Liberation Front, older group, has operated intermittently and sometimes allied with others. United Baloch Army, an example of a group formed by mergers, splinters in earlier cycles of the insurgency. BRAS, Baloch Raji Ajoi Sangar, an umbrella alliance reported in open sources as a formal cooperation coalition between previously rival Baloch armed groups. Reports indicate BRA, BLF, and elements of BLA have been involved in joint arrangements or at least shared operations under brass coalition labels. Post 2022, these groups formed an alliance and fighting under unified leadership, and hence they have gained coordinated execution of attacks and intel sharing. Now questions come: who is arming them, training them, and providing intel for these coordinated attacks in military style? Chapter 2. Is CIA and RAW helping Baloch? Evaluating claims. Are CIA and RAW enabling this movement? 1. Claims on records. Pakistani leaders have publicly accused external actors and sanctuaries in neighboring territory. Those accusations tend to surface quickly after major attacks. Pakistan's narrative points to cross-border command and control, foreign origin weapons, and logistic pipelines. 2. Public evidences. Independent, verifiable evidence linking established foreign intelligence agencies to the Baloch insurgency has historically been thin. Open source reporting and international outlets that track the conflict, AP, Reuters, Al Jazeera, report Pakistan's charges and Pakistan's intelligence assessments, but do not publish conclusive proof in the public domain of direct CIA or RAW control of BLA operations. Seizures of weapons and interrogation reports are cited by Islamabad, but chain of custody and provenance of weapons are hard to independently verify in active conflict zones. 3. Plausibility and proxies. Intelligence support can take many forms: training, funding, sanctuary, or indirect proxy use through non-state actors. Historically, regional intelligence competition has seen states provide varying levels of support to insurgent or proxy groups. That pattern makes Islamabad's suspicion plausible in the abstract. But plausible does not equal proven. Absent transparent forensic evidence linking CIA or RAW hands to specific BLA operations, the public record supports suspicion but not a smoking gun attribution. 4. Geopolitical incentives. Would external services benefit? India has long been accused by Pakistan of supporting Baloch dissidents. India denies direct involvement. The US may have had tactical contacts historically around counter-terrorism, but overt support for a separatist insurgency against a nuclear state would carry enormous strategic cost, a highly risky policy move. In short, incentive calculus exists for deniability and covert use of proxies, but public corroborated proof is lacking. However, recent OSINT reporting confirms that arms and ammunition were enabled recently by CIA through smuggled markets created from leftover military equipments and hardware after US force Afghanistan withdrawal. OSINT experts also providing inputs that those arms consignments are passing through Pashtun tribal smuggling routes. OSINT experts also highlighted the latest collaboration between TTP, Pashtun's militant networks. Though ideologically different from Baloch, TTP and Pashtuns are providing smuggling routes, intel providing deep state covers for Baloch in the areas like northern Balochistan, Quetta, Job, Pishin. BLA must operate through Pashtun areas to move fighters, access Afghan routes, evade Pakistani security grids. This creates forced coexistence, not ideological unity. Both Baloch and TTPs want to stretch Pakistani military resources across Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Balochistan, tribal districts. This creates multi-front pressure which benefits both. Asia Times tracking of post-withdrawal arms sales reveals a grimly efficient marketplace operating in plain sight. In dusty border towns, a Taliban hawker can casually flip a US-issued M4 rifle for as little as $300. Add night vision or thermal optics and the price jumps instantly. Those upgrades are pure gold for outfits like the Baloch Liberation Army. There are no dramatic airdrops, no cloak and dagger movie scenes. The logistics are almost boring in their simplicity. Pashtun mule caravans through mountain passes. Baloch smugglers moving consignments along routes refined over decades of narcotics and fuel trafficking. This is old tradecraft, repurposed. The core claim made by Pakistan is repeated almost every day. It says the CIA's hidden deep state, old hands in Langley, Washington neoconservatives, and groups funded through NED grants is secretly backing the Baloch Liberation Army. The goal, according to this claim, is to damage China's China-Pakistan economic corridor, especially the port of Gwadar. If CPEC is hurt, the argument goes, China's bigger Belt and Road initiative is weakened at its most sensitive point. Pakistan frames this as a strategic move by the US to contain Xi Jinping, especially in a world shaped by Trump 2.0 thinking. Balochistan is central to this suspicion. The province is rich in resources. Copper reserves at Reko Deek, massive gas supplies from the Sui gas fields, and possible rare earth minerals needed for electric vehicles and future tech. Some in Pakistan even speculate further. Weaken Islamabad's control, encourage a free Baloch state, and one day the US Navy might get a base on the Arabian Sea. But when you look for hard evidence, the story falls apart. There are no leaked documents, no WikiLeaks style cables, no Snowden files, no FinCEN reports showing money flowing into BLA wallets. None. In fact, the United States Department of State has publicly condemned BLA attacks, and the United States Department of the Treasury has openly said it is watching and investigating BLA funding networks. History also matters. The CIA did try covert games in the region before, especially around the Iranian Revolution, working with Iran's SAVAK. Those operations failed badly. The lesson was expensive and humiliating. Since then, Washington has preferred indirect balancing over risky insurgent support. When Pakistan's Defense Minister Asif voices outrage, the protest rings hollow. His statements inadvertently concede the real issue. Conventional forces and counter-terror units simply cannot compete with the economics of this ecosystem. The Taliban didn't just inherit weapons, they inherited a revenue stream. Conservative estimates put their annual earnings from reselling leftover American military hardware at close to $500 million. For them, ideology aside, it's business. Pakistan's obsession with raw. Since the 2008 Mumbai attacks, Pakistan has increasingly blamed India's intelligence agency, Research and Analysis Wing, for unrest inside its borders. The claim is simple and repeated often. India is funding the Baloch Liberation Army as revenge for Kashmir. Pakistani officials even put a number on it, $50 million, allegedly paid to BLA networks. After the Pulwama attack, this narrative became louder. Pakistan's inter-services intelligence presented so-called confessions from Kulbhushan Jadhav, calling him a raw spy. India rejected the case outright, calling the trial secretive and doctored. International observers raised concerns about forced confessions and lack of due process. Yet, in Pakistan's media space, the story stuck. Pakistan also points to BLA leaders living abroad. Figures like Hirbier Mari, based in London, often speak positively about India or praise Indian media coverage. Islamabad treats this as proof of Indian backing. But this claim weakens when facts are checked. BLA attacks have hit Pakistani and Chinese targets, but they have also targeted Indian interests in the past, which makes the idea of tight Indian control hard to defend. Independent data also hurts Pakistan's claim. The South Asia Terrorism Portal tracks militant violence and weapons flows across South Asia. Its records show 0 confirmed cases of Indian-sourced weapons reaching the BLA. Chapter 3. Will we see Balochistan getting independence like Bangladesh? 7 conditions needed for a separatist movement to achieve independence. For a separatist movement to succeed and gain independence, 7 key conditions usually need to be met. Condition 1. Strong core ideology. A movement becomes effective when it is driven by a clear and powerful idea. This could be resistance to ethnic oppression, like the Baltic states, or a language and cultural movement, like Bangladesh. In the Baloch case, the movement is driven by identity, rights, and resistance to long-term repression. This condition is met. Condition 2. Sufficient manpower, critical mass. Numbers matter in any conflict. To defeat the state, a movement needs fighters close to or exceeding the number of local security forces. In Balochistan, Pakistan has around 25,000 army and paramilitary troops, around 45,000 police and other security personnel. The estimated number of Baloch fighters, about 3,000 in 2013, possibly up to 5,000 today. To seriously challenge Pakistan, the Baloch would need at least 25,000 fighters, which means adding around 20,000 more. With a total Baloch population of roughly 6 million, this scale has not been achieved yet. This condition is not met. Condition 3. Unified leadership and vision. Earlier, Baloch groups were divided. Recently, they have shown better coordination and joint planning, which has enabled more organized attacks. This condition is met. Condition 4. Geography and terrain advantage. Terrain plays a big role in long-term conflict. Balochistan covers about 40% of Pakistan's land area and has mountains, deserts, and difficult terrain, ideal for guerrilla warfare. Pakistan must maintain many scattered posts and bases, which stretches its military thin. Like East Pakistan's separation from West Pakistan during the Bangladesh War, geography works in Baloch favor. This condition is met. Condition 5. External support and international recognition. The Baloch movement has tried to raise awareness globally, including at international forums like the UN. However, major powers such as the US, China, Russia, and the EU do not support Baloch independence. Without strong foreign backing or recognition, independence becomes extremely difficult. This condition is not met. Condition 6. Funding, weapons, and intelligence. The Baloch movement has been relatively successful in securing money, weapons, and intelligence. Sources include their own networks, support channels linked to militant groups, smuggling and regional intelligence flows. This condition is met. Condition 7. Shared sense of oppression. A movement gains unity when people believe they are being oppressed by a common enemy. In Balochistan, decades of military operations, disappearances, and human rights abuses have created this shared grievance. This condition is met. Out of 7 conditions, the Baloch movement currently meets 5. To realistically move toward independence, it must focus on 2 major gaps. 1. Increase its fighting strength to at least 25,000 fighters. 2. Gain international support, recognition, and foreign intervention by shaping a strong global narrative. Until these 2 gaps are addressed, independence remains unlikely. Chapter 4. What Baloch can learn from Bangladesh. Mukti Bahini uprising. Key similarities between Baloch and Mukti Bahini separatist movements. 1. Perceived political and economic marginalization. Both movements grew from the belief that the central state was exploiting the region while denying fair political power. In Balochistan, locals argue that gas, minerals, and ports benefit outsiders more than Baloch people. In East Pakistan, Bengalis felt economically drained and politically ignored by West Pakistan. Similarity. Long-term grievances created a strong separatist mindset. 2. Identity-driven movements. Bangladesh was built around language and cultural identity, Bengali versus Urdu dominance. Baloch nationalism is rooted in ethnic identity, tribal autonomy, and historical independence. Similarity. Identity was the emotional fuel for mobilization. 3. Military repression strengthened resistance. Pakistan Army actions in 1971 unified Bengali society. Military operations in Balochistan have hardened local resentment. Similarity. Repression unintentionally strengthened the separatist cause. Key dissimilarities. 1. Population size and participation. Biggest difference. East Pakistan had 70 plus million people with mass civilian participation. Balochistan has 6 million Baloch with only a small fraction actively involved. Difference. Bangladesh was a people's war. Balochistan remains a low-intensity insurgency. 2. Geographic separation. East Pakistan was physically cut off from West Pakistan by Indian territory. Balochistan is contiguous with Pakistan's core landmass. Difference. Bangladesh's geography made military control extremely difficult. Balochistan's does not fully isolate Pakistan forces. 3. Decisive external military support. Bangladesh succeeded because of direct military intervention by India during the Bangladesh Liberation War. Balochistan has no foreign state willing to fight Pakistan on its behalf. Difference. Bangladesh had a state-level ally. Balochistan does not. 4. Unified command and legitimacy. The Mukti Bahini operated under a single political leadership, Awami League-led government in exile. Baloch groups remain fragmented politically, even if tactically coordinated. Difference. Bangladesh had one recognized political voice. Balochistan does not. 5. International narrative. Pakistan's 1971 actions were globally framed as genocide, creating moral pressure. Baloch suffering lacks sustained global media focus and legal framing. Difference. Bangladesh won the moral war internationally. Balochistan has not. What Baloch can learn from the Bangladesh movement, today's context? 1. Turn insurgency into a mass movement. Bangladesh succeeded because ordinary civilians participated. Students, workers, farmers. Baloch movement must expand beyond armed groups into civil resistance, labor actions, students, and diaspora mobilization. 2. Create a single political authority. Bangladesh had a clear political leadership, not just fighters. Baloch need one political front that speaks for all groups internationally. 3. Win the global moral narrative. Today's wars are fought in courts, media, and international institutions. Document abuses systematically. Push legal cases. Frame the issue as human rights and self-determination, not militancy. 4. External support doesn't have to be military. Unlike 1971, direct military intervention is unlikely today. But support can come as diplomatic pressure, sanctions advocacy, UN debates, international NGOs. Bangladesh had tanks and jets. Baloch need law, media, and diplomacy. 5. Avoid over-militarization. Excessive violence isolates global sympathy. Bangladesh combined armed resistance with political legitimacy. Baloch must avoid actions that weaken their international image. Bangladesh succeeded because it had massive population participation, clear leadership, geographic separation, direct foreign military support. Global moral legitimacy. Balochistan today has strong grievances, difficult terrain, tactical capability, but it lacks mass mobilization and decisive international backing. My conclusions. Balochistan's conflict is not sustained by secret CIA pipelines or raw master plans, but by a hard mix of history, geography, economics, and unresolved political failure. Weapons flow not because of conspiracies, but because wars leave surplus, borders leak, and black markets always adapt faster than states. Pakistan's leadership keeps searching for external villains while avoiding the uncomfortable truth that decades of coercion, exclusion, and broken federal promises created the conditions for rebellion. The Baloch movement, meanwhile, faces its own hard reality. Tactical strides and symbolic unity are not enough to win independence in the modern world. Bangladesh's lesson is brutal but clear. Freedom comes when mass legitimacy, unified political leadership, and international recognition converge. Until those pillars are built, Balochistan will remain a battleground of narratives and sporadic violence, not a state in waiting.